Welcome to this tutorial where I want to showcase some really important data trends, tools, technologies, and frameworks that you can focus on in and after 23 to really power up your career, your upskilling, and your longevity in the game. As data is a field that's constantly evolving and changing, it's really good to keep up with these trends. And what I will do to illustrate this, I'll look over some documentation. I've got some actual coding examples that I've previously performed, some popularity metrics from things like the Stack Overflow Developer Survey. So it'll be a quick tutorial, but hopefully quite comprehensive and beneficial. Now, the first thing is self service BI. Now, this is likely terminology that you've heard sort of thrown about, and tools like Power BI or Tableau are really at the heart of this. So, I've seen this done very well in the past, and I've seen it done very poorly. Now, essentially, the core of self service BI centers around a core BI team or data team who will do things like core maintenance, they will look at upstream technology, they will maintain the data models. And from there, as you can see in this rather good diagram from the Microsoft documentation, people will be able to go in, access data sets, request data sets. They'll be able to create reports, potentially do a bit of data modeling. And what this does is it creates a good central data literate company, hopefully at the heart, and it obviously leaves IT and data professionals that time and resource to work on the more bespoke, important projects. So, getting a firm handle on this is really core to managing data governance, data integrity, and stakeholders. Next up is Google BigQuery. Now, essentially, Google BigQuery is just a full enterprise data warehouse. Now, whilst this isn't going to potentially be as performant as other relational database management systems like Postgres or SQL Server, Azure SQL, whatever that may be, it has a lot of benefits in that it sits within the Google Cloud infrastructure. So it's got a lot of connectivity to nice natural language processing APIs and tools, data science tools, sort of workflow tools. Um, and that's a real strength, especially for companies who potentially don't have as much relational data. They're working with a lot of transactional. It can be really good to sort of start to manage that mature data lifecycle. Another plus here, as we can see within the sample data set, you get some access to Google search terms. So I've got that here. So that's a really nice way to use it. But the SQL itself is really what I'm trying to demonstrate here. Very ANSI standard. I like the interface for a web browser. You get execution details, nice execution graphics. So really one to keep an eye on in the future. Next up, polars with Python. Now, if you've not been living under a rock, you may have seen the comparisons between polars and pandas in Python for essentially managing data frames. Now, pandas for a long time within analysis and data science has been known as one of the gold standards, along with sort of numerical processing libraries like NumPy. However, polars has come to the forefront due to its speed, its ability to work with really large data sets, and really that ability to connect into the data science universe. So as we can see, it's written in Rust, which gives it a feature complete data frame API. Speed and resource is really the focus here with Rust. And there's a lot of things I like about Polars. There's really easy ways to connect several APIs. You can query SQL very easily. The syntax is quite intuitive. So as working with larger and larger data becomes more prevalent, Polars is definitely one to keep an eye on, especially if you work with pandas regularly. So Julia comes in at number 4. Now, let's not get things wrong. Julia is definitely not one of the most popular programming languages, but it does seem to be rising with popularity, and it does seem to have its place. You can think of comparisons with R in terms of scientific computing. So I've seen a lot of hype around Julia, especially within the data science community, machine learning, scientific domains. Again, the resources that it has available with things like parallel computing, uh, it's really, really interesting. And Julia will definitely be something to monitor in terms of the use within jobs and this tech stack that we currently see sort of with Python and R, and how close Julia can potentially come. in the next few years to sort of bridging the gap in the more scientific and statistical computing elements. So for data science, Julia's definitely is increasing year on year with popularity. Here we see in the 2022 Stack Overflow survey, uh, with regards to technology that people commonly use in this year, and I believe the other criteria is the next year to come. Julia again taking 1.53% of the share. Uh, and that equates to about 1,000 responses where people have voted for Julia. But that is an increase, I think, in percentage on the year before. But where Julia shines is actually regularly in surveys shown to be very user friendly and very well liked. And it's even outscored Python, I believe, in the 2021 or 2022 user friendliness survey through Stack Overflow. Now, generative AI, obviously, again, if you've been on the earth, you've likely seen things around ChatGPT lately. But people aren't necessarily using this to its full advantage. So, when you're first scoping out a topic, if you're learning new topics such as potentially machine learning, you can see here I get a query with some sample breast cancer data. uh, and really, I get my first foray into machine learning or data science. And what I love about ChatGPT is the explanations that accompany it because it allows you to pinpoint where you learn next and which avenue you go down. It's essentially just the next iteration in search engines. Now, here's another example, DALI 2, where you can create AI images and art from a natural language prompt. So, again, instead of text and queries and code, we're generating art. And what I like to do here, if you want a schematic or design for potentially a dashboard, you can start typing things. Obviously, the strength here is based of the output is based on the strength of the input or your prompt. So you really need to be specific there. But this is a really nice use case. And again, as sort of data development and things go on, we should really be thinking about how we can harness the usage of generative AI to further our careers and our work. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial, and as usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more.